Now, normally on Pokemon WTF Moments, we don't really tend to have a question of the day. That's not a thing we do in this series. We do it in Siri Battles, but we don't do it over here. But I really do need to ask, does anyone remember this episode? What the fuck? We begin today's episode with Ash and friends trekking across a desert on Mandarin Island on their way to Travita, where the next Orange League gym is. Tracey says that it will take about 3 days to get there, and Ash asks if there isn't somewhere closer they can stop and rest. Correct me if I'm wrong, mate, but aren't you all traveling with camping equipment? Surely you could just stop and rest literally anywhere. Ash and Misty talk about how they haven't been getting much exercise on this journey traveling around on Lapras's back. Apparently we're just going to ignore the time Ash climbed a literal mountain with no equipment, and then we get this direct quote from Tracey. Well, I don't think Lapras would be able to help us out in this place. You know what would help? Shutting the fuck up and pitching your tent. So I thought the title of this episode was meant to be Get Along Little Pokemon, even though it should be Get Along Little Pokemon because it's based on Get Along Little Doggies. But according to the title card, it's actually called Get Along Little Pokemon. Comma placement. It's important. Remember, the dog is eating Grandma is a very different sentence to the dog is eating Grandma. As the storm gets worse, the gang duck behind some rocks for cover, and all of a sudden a bunch of Magnemite turn up and intercept the lightning bolt and basically just hover there in place, being shocked by it. Now, the entire premise of today's episode hangs on the belief that Magnemite can absorb electricity, even though we know that Magnemite don't get the volt absorbability, and we also know that they do take damage from electric type moves, even if it's resisted.
Actually, Liam, the Pokedex does say that Magnemite feeds on electricity.
Yeah, and that's fine, but do you know how much electricity comes from a single bolt of lightning? It can be like 1 billion volts. Like, I live off a diet that's basically just fish, chicken, and ice gems, washed down with G Fuel. But if you fed me about 100,000 portions in one sitting, I'm pretty sure I'd still be very unwell. A Jolteon turns up and its cry sounds like it's constantly trying to clear its throat. Now listen, I feel like I've given Pokemon a lot of leeway when it comes to weird, outdated stuff in their anime. But who in the late 1990s travels around in one of these 18th or 19th century Canistoga wagons? Like, dude, did you just somehow happen to miss the invention of the tire? There is no good reason for this guy to have a wagon like this other than just to make me cringe. Direct quote from the random cowboy.
Hop in, pilgrims.
Oh, we get it. You're a living, breathing stereotype. Oh, and let me guess, I bet you're also racist. The guy tells Ash and friends to get into his wagon because they'll be safe from the lightning in there. And just like the irresponsible cretins they are, they jump into a stranger's vehicle without question. Listen, if your kids watch Pokemon, do not let them learn anything from these three. Also, Tracey doesn't even go inside, so how is he supposed to be safe from the lightning? Then again, this is Tracey, so if a stray bolt took him out, I doubt anyone would complain. I love that in this shot, Tracey and the guy are just looking directly forward, when all the Magnemite are clearly off to the left and slightly behind where they are. Is this supposed to be like an eclipse? Are they not meant to look directly into it? Once the storm's cleared, the guy explains that he's a Magnemite rancher who basically uses his Magnemite to absorb electricity from lightning and then supplies that electricity to the local towns. Hang on. So he didn't explain any of this until after the storm had ended. So does that mean for the duration of the storm, they were all just sat there in silence with no idea who this guy was or what he was doing there? Man, that must have been uncomfortable. Misty says that chasing after lightning storms must be a really dangerous and exciting job. Dangerous? He just said the Magnemite absorbed the lightning. Surely that takes all the danger away. Mate, were you not listening just now? Let's test your listening skills. If you're hearing my voice right now, tap the like button, share this video on social media, and leave a lovely comment down below. If you can't think of a comment, just leave something generic like
Magnemite rancher, more like boring old wanker.
Or just comment the name of the secret Pokemon I've hidden somewhere in the video. And if you're new here, thank you for giving my channel a chance. Hit the subscribe button, and apparently we're supposed to show the graph now, so let's pop the graph up on screen. If you're in the 46% of people not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, click the bell to turn on all notifications, and you'll never miss an episode of this lovely series. We're at 1.73 million subscribers and counting, and hopefully, if you do hit the subscribe button, YouTube will finally add that extra 0 that's missing. We learn that Ethan, the cowboy bloke, whose name we don't find out till later, but I'm just going to use it now for convenience, calls all the Magnemite by number, and then we see number 6 wandering off. Oh look, number 6 looks different to all the other Magnemite. Its magnets are bent. I wonder if this Magnemite's going to be essential crucial to the plot. Ash asks Ethan why he doesn't keep all his Magnemite in Pokeballs, and Ethan responds saying that if he had to get all of his Magnemite out of Pokeballs every time, they'd miss the lightning. Bollocks, mate! We've seen no end of trainers in this series throw all their Pokeballs into the air at once and send out all of their Pokemon simultaneously. Just sounds like laziness to me.
Well, actually, Liam, if Ethan kept them in Pokeballs, wouldn't he be restricted to only having 6 with him at all times?
That is actually a really good point. Touché. All the Magnemites suddenly surround Pikachu and close in on him to the point that they're practically suffocating him. And at no point does Ethan try and stop them. Ethan, mate, these are your Pokemon and therefore they're your responsibility. Sort them out, lad. They're a lawsuit waiting to happen. Since Ethan's about as much use as a chocolate teapot, Ash tries to shoo away the Magnemite himself and gets shocked for his troubles. And then we get this direct quote from Ethan.
Say, you're a tough little hombre, aren't you? Just like me.
Mate, this guy is taking way too much of a shine to Ash way too quickly. Ethan might be a nonce. Pass it on. At one point, Ethan hands the reins to his Tauros over to Ash, and as you can imagine, that leads to the wagon getting jerked around more than your dad was by his first wife. Ethan, mate, what did you think was going to happen? Tauros are massive creatures, and you're handing the reins over to a 10-year-old who has no training whatsoever in how to control a Tauros-pulled wagon. Use your noodle. As we've reached another scene where the gang just silently watch the Magnemite getting struck by lightning just like before, I'm going to take this moment to apologize in advance if this episode turns out to be a shorter one than usual. This might just be one of the most boring episodes of Pokemon I've ever watched. I completely forgot it existed for a start, just like you probably did, and we're over a third of the way through the episode and bugger all has happened. There have been so many scenes already where the characters barely even say anything. In fact, in the scene where Ash gets handed the reins and is trying to control the wagon, after everybody shouts at him, there's a full 50 seconds where not a single word is uttered by any of the characters, all the way until Jesse's laugh breaks the silence in the next scene. Pokemon, give me something to work with here. And Officer Jenny calls Ethan to tell him about a blackout after lightning struck a nearby power plant. Wait, if that town has a power plant, why would they have ever needed Ethan's services in the first place? Like, sure they need them now, but I mean before the blackout. Also, Jenny says the Pokemon Center hasn't had power for almost a day, and says the Magnemite at the Pokemon Center are almost out of power themselves, just before they do in fact run out of power. Well, Jenny, why didn't you call Ethan sooner, you dickhead? Also, how are you going to tell me that Ethan rides around in an 18th or 19th century wagon but has a mobile video phone in the back of it? This is some Legends Arceus levels of mismatched technology here. Just as Ethan and everyone are about to head to the Pokemon Center, Team Rocket turn up and lure away Ethan's Magnemite with what can only be described as a giant fuck-off magnet. Like, it's not just a giant magnet, it's absurdly big. Much like my...
attitude?
Yes, I was definitely going to say attitude then. After Pikachu and Jolteon are also grabbed by Team Rocket, Ethan tells Jolteon to use Pin Missile. This hurts James and causes him to loosen his claw's grip on Pikachu and Jolteon and therefore freeze them. Didn't pop the balloon though, so not really a great Pin Missile, is it? Then again, Pin Missile is a bug type move, and I guess an argument could be made that Hot Air Balloon is technically a flying type, like Drifblim. Ethan then tells Jolteon to use Thunder Wave to round up the Magnemite. Why didn't he just do that when they first started flying away? Like, they were closer to you than they were to the big magnet back then. So surely that would have solved the problem before it had even started. As Jessie goes to send out Arbok, she inadvertently twats one of the Magnemite with Arbok's Pokeball. Mate, that's just rude. What's never rude is using code ACE for money off G Fuel. That's right, it's time to talk about my favorite energy formula that has barely any calories and zero sugar and a whole heap of wonderful flavors, like Brain Drive, which I am drinking today. For those wondering, the flavor of Brain Drive is pineapple, guava, and citrus twist, and it is, oh, bellissimo. Oh, that is bloody wonderful, and what's better yet is you can use code ACE to save yourself 10% on your entire G Fuel order while supporting this garbage channel. I really appreciate everybody that uses code ACE. Remember though, G Fuel is for over 18s only because it contains caffeine, and children do not need caffeine. They are annoying enough as it is, and because it contains caffeine, just drink it responsibly. Don't be a dickhead. Now, Jessie hitting that Magnemite with Arbok's Pokeball causes the Pokeball to open up prematurely, so Arbok goes plummeting to the ground and hits it like a sack of shit. Poor Arbok. doesn't deserve that kind of treatment. Hashtag justice for Arbok. Jessie tells Arbok to knock out Jolteon with a tackle attack. Jessie, mate, we've been through this. Arbok can't learn tackle. Misty yells to Jolteon to look out. Oh, sod off, Misty. Ethan, Jolteon's trainer, is right there. Stop backseat Pokemon training. After clearly seeing his Jolteon getting battered by Arbok, instead of just yelling, "Stop this," from where he was already stood, Ethan moves so that he stood in the path of the incoming Jolteon carcass before yelling to Jessie to stop this. Meaning Jolteon's body just smashes into his gut. Ethan, mate. That's the dumbest thing I've seen all day. As Misty and Tracey rush over to check on Ethan, you kind of have to wonder if it would help if any of these Pokemon trainers would, you know, send out a Pokemon. Also, Misty, in her infinite wisdom, asks Ethan if he's okay. Misty, the bloke just got hit in the gut with a dog, for crying out loud. Of course he's not okay. Wait a sec, how did Arbok get back up in the balloon? Does Jessie's Arbok know teleport now, as well as tackle? Jessie really is a full-on hacker. Confirmed. For some reason, Ash decides to put a saddle on one of the Tauros to ride into town on his own, since apparently Ethan can't go. Am I the only person that's looking at the literal wagon in the background? Like, I get that Ash isn't great on the reins, but he got the wagon far enough with them, didn't he? Just bung Ethan in the back of the wagon with Misty and Tracey and all go together. There is literally no sensible reason for Ash to bugger off on his own. Direct quote from Ethan.
Thanks, Ash. I only wish I could take the trip myself.
You can! Just tell Ash to hook that Tauros back up and get your ass in the bloody wagon. As Ash rides off, Tracey, with apparently the longest right arm in the world, shouts to Ash to let him know they'll be right behind him. Well, if you're going to be right behind him anyway, why don't you all just go together?
Oh, this is all so pointless.
This episode is genuinely hurting my brain at this point. On the way to town, all the Magnemite that Ash is running with fly off in random directions. Mate, for saying Ethan's meant to have trained all these Magnemite, they're pretty damn disobedient when all is said and done. The thing is, aren't Magnemites supposed to be somewhat sentient like most Pokemon? So shouldn't they be fully aware that they're headed to a Pokemon Center that currently has no power in order to restore the power so the Pokemon Center can help sick Pokemon? So then why are they acting like such colossal dickbags? Credit where credit is due. Team Rocket using a static electricity gun to lure the Magnemite towards them is a touch of genius and gave me a genuine chuckle. Although saying that, the first genuine chuckle happening 15 minutes into a 20-minute episode really doesn't bode well, does it? Direct quote from James.
I'm rubbing as fast as I can.
Phrasing?
Apparently, Pikachu still doesn't have enough energy left to help out. Oh no! If only Ash had literally any other Pokemon with him. Like a Squirtle or a Bulbasaur, or maybe even a Snorlax. That was sarcasm for those who aren't versed in such things. So as Pikachu and Team Rocket battle, but not really battle, they're just battling to see who can produce the most electric charge, Magnemite number 6, you know, the one with the bent magnets, flies into the middle of the electricity, which for some reason causes an explosion of electricity that doesn't harm anybody, but does split the bag that Meowth was keeping all the captured Magnemite in. And once they've all escaped, they circle around Magnemite number 6, and this for some reason causes it to evolve. Let's be real though, this was all just filler to pad out the episode. Because how Pokemon could write their way out of such a boring episode with like actual dialogue or actual action is beyond me. Hell, they even had Team Rocket come back for a second round and still managed to add sod all to the episode. That's tragic. First of all,
Why this Magneton dummy thick though?
secondly, Magnemite evolving, effectively creating 2 brand new Magnemite to form the second and third Magnemite of the Magneton trio, rather than it being 3 random Magnemite coming together and connecting to make 1 Magneton. That's the way Magnemite evolves in the games. So does that mean Pokemon does actually follow the games? That must mean TMs are canon too. Sorry, I just had to get that one little dig in. Team Rocket rubbed themselves so furiously that Meowth's nipples catch on fire. Now there's a sentence I never thought I'd say. Oh look, Ethan's riding in the back of the wagon while someone else takes the reins, just like I said he should have. Remind me again why we needed to send Ash on his own? Imagine how quickly you could have moved that wagon with both the Tauros pulling it. When he sees that the power is indeed back on in the town, Ethan, pulling this face, says,
All thanks to Ash.
yeah, alright mate, do you want to dial back that gushing a little? Getting a bit creepy, lad. Especially with the weird 80s love ballad music they've got playing in the background for some reason. The very next morning, we get this direct quote from Ethan.
Say Ash, how'd you like to team up and be partners with old Ethan?
Oh my god, he just came right out and asked him. This guy Ethan legit wants to partner up with a 10-year-old boy. Notice he didn't ask Misty or Tracey to stick around. I mean, let's face it, one's a girl and the other's probably too old for him. I guess it's official. Cowboy Ethan is a pedo. pass it on and contact the relevant authorities. Ash, mate, I know you do, but if I were you, I would not shake that hand. God knows where that's been. After Ethan says goodbye, amigo, Ash quite sternly says,
Goodbye, friend.
mate, that is amazing. Ash made sure that Ethan knows full well he is well and truly friend-zoned. You love to see it.
Well, actually, Liam, I think you'll find Ethan referred to Ash as amigo, which is Spanish for friend. So technically they both called each other friend.
Yeah, it does, but let's face it. We all know Ethan was just hablando español to sound a little bit more exotic, but that did not work on our Ash. He put that old creep right in his place. So those are my WTF moments for Pokemon Season 2, Episode 21. Get along, little Pokemon. Let me know your favorites and any that I missed down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Head to twitch.tv/AceTrainLiam for all of my live streams, and of course use code ACEMONEY of G Fuel. And if you're at MCM Comic Con London this weekend, I will see you there. But until next time, I'm Ace Trainer Liam. Keep on training.